Hey everybody, I'm Chris, and we're going to do a review. Our first review on the channel. So I'm going to review Final Girl. If you haven't heard of this, Final Girl is a horror-based game. So there's a lot of them. It consists of a core set. And then you have VHS tapes. I've got two of them here, the two that I've played so far. The Haunting of Creech Manor with the Poltergeist, and Camp Happy Trails starring Hans the Butcher. So basically, it plays off the horror trope of, in like slasher films, there's always this final girl that's there, and it's her versus the killer. And so you're like, all right, is she gonna get out and kill him and get away, or is it gonna end poorly for her? You play as the final girl. So each VHS set consists of two final girls, one location, and one killer. And the core set is all the things that you'll use throughout all the VHS tapes. But what I like about this is that the replayability is off the charts. We'll just say that, because you can mix and match, so you can play any final girl with any of the scenarios, but also like you can take the Poltergeist and play the Poltergeist in Camp Happy Trails, and you can take Hans and put him in the Creech Manor, and like you'll have a whole new game and setup and all that stuff. And so each box, you have cards that go with the location and cards that go with the killer. And so as you play that, you can mix and match all kinds of things, which sets up for a really replayable game. And the more VHS tapes you buy, the more the possibilities. Also a cool thing is when you play with the final girl and you beat the game, if you kill the killer, then you get like a special card, which I have not done yet because I have not beat the killer in either scenario. So yeah, so I'll get into like setup just a little bit and kind of explain the game, and then we'll get into my thoughts. All right, so reading the rule book, it was a daunting task, but once you kind of know the setup, each game kind of plays very similarly. So you have your location and your killer, and you have your final girl. Here's the final girl board right here. There's also an extreme horror side. Extreme horror. I can't even imagine the extreme side, but I haven't even beat the regular one, so I don't even know if I'll ever play the extreme horror side, because this is a tough game. I'll say that. So it's a single player game, if you like single player games, and it is very difficult. So there's 5 phases that go into each thing. So your setup, this is your horror board, and then you'll notice there's like a little timer around here, and that's kind of how like you have a certain amount of time to do things on each phase, and then you'll use that time to buy more cards and things like that. So you'll set up, there's a card tableau of your actions that you can take, and then you get some starting actions, and then from then on you'll be buying actions each turn. But the action phase is first, so you play your action cards, and that will help you to move. That can help you to fight the killer. It can help you rescue people. So there are some people that you're trying to save throughout the game. They're just basically NPCs that you're helping to escape from the scenario. And as you do that, though, you actually level up your final girl to get some rewards. And then once you get in a certain amount of rescued, you get a bonus for the whole game. Like you get an extra bonus the rest of the game. On those action phases, as you heal, you can rest, you can take more actions, you can do a lot of different things, but you're rolling the action dice. So this is where it becomes kind of random. So you get a certain amount of dice based on the horror level. So you can see right here, you get 2 dice most of the time. And those dice will determine if you complete the action or fail the action. Or you can discard 2 cards and change one of the dice to something that will benefit you. So it's pretty tense. Like as you roll, you're like, oh no, I need these 2 cards, but if I don't discard them, then something really bad happens. Because if you fail an action, it's not good. But you have to complete actions to actually move about the camp or the house and do the things that you need to do. One of the things that I really liked about the Haunting of Creech Manor, it was very different than the Camp Happy Trails. And so in one of them, you're trying to like kill the killer, and then in Camp Happy Trails, because it's a poltergeist, you can't kill a ghost. So you're trying. It's not Ghostbusters.
I hate this. I like to torture them.
So you're trying to like find a person that's hiding, and so there's different areas that you can search and get different items. So you're trying to find a girl that's hiding in the house and get her out before you get killed by the poltergeist. And so so each scenario, as you set it up, you've got different cards that you're playing and different things that you're doing and different actions. And then each, as I said earlier, like there's a setup card that'll tell you how to set the game up, and there's a bunch of them for each scenario. So you can have different setups every time, where different non-playable characters, like the little meeples of the people, the victims that you're trying to rescue, like they're in different places. And then you have after the action phase, you go to the planning phase. So the planning phase is where you buy cards from the tableau. You get your time back up to 6 every time after that to buy more cards the next time. So you spend time a lot of times to do actions, and then you spend your time to buy more cards. So you have to be careful on, okay, am I gonna use my time to get these actions, or am I gonna use time to buy more cards for next phase because I need to do more things next time around. The third phase is the killer phase, and in the killer phase, that's when the killer moves around. He has just an action, he or she has an action right at the beginning that they'll do immediately. So it's usually move and kill somebody that's in their space, and then once they do that, the horror meter, or their bloodlust meter, goes up, and as it goes up, they get harder to kill, they move around more, their attacks do more damage, and so you want to take out the killer as quickly as possible, but you have to realize, like, oh, I've got to go get items to help kill the killer and all this stuff. And so there's this kind of balance that you have to take, but as the killer is moving around killing people, he's getting stronger. And so there's a thing called their dark power. Once their bloodlust hits a certain level, they get a dark power. In my first game, their dark power was they get to do 2 attacks. And so every single attack was actually a double attack, and that's what ended up ultimately killing me. But during the killer phase, then you'll draw a terror card after they've taken their action. And the terror card could be something like, oh, more people come into the camp, or more people like flee, and so you roll dice to let the people flee, or the killer takes another killing turn, or all this stuff. And so again, this game is very much stacked against you because you're this final girl and you're trying to kill this seemingly unstoppable killer, and it really makes you feel that way as you play. Next is the panic phase. So if anybody was killed, if any victims were killed, and the killer is on a space with victims, they will panic and run away. And so you roll dice to see where they're going to go. And then the final phase is the upkeep phase. If you're out of terror cards, that's when you start the finale of the game. But a lot of times in the upkeep phase, it's just like, okay, there might be an action card that you need to complete or something that you can do. But most of the time, you just go back to the action phase and start over. All right, so after playing 2 games, so I only played 2 games, one in each scenario, and one with the killers that are in the box. I really enjoy this game. So yeah, so I'll talk about some of the negative stuff, but yeah, just know that this is great. Like, this is very fun. It's a lot, like, it's pretty tense. I mean, they do a good job of creating this tension because you feel like, oh, maybe I'm gonna get out, especially my first game. So the Camp Happy Trails with Hans the Butcher, he's this guy with a big sledgehammer going around just smashing people's heads. It's gross. But there are like supplements to the game where you can actually like get a very mature killing book where it's just like describes the kills and stuff like that. So if you want to come up with your own, you can, or if you want to read, like, they have some stuff online, I think you can buy it, purchase it, of how the killer is killing these people. You can read those scenarios too to make it more gruesome, but there's a lot of just kind of like you're creating the story as you're running around, and like you're imagining, okay, what would I do in this situation? Am I gonna go search for more things, or am I gonna go after the killer because I know he's getting stronger as he kills, and so do I want to take him out while he's weak, or do I want to get stronger so I can feel more powerful? So your final girl does not have a lot of health, and the killer has a lot of health, and so you're trying to like balance that of like, okay, do I heal now or do I actually move? And so I really liked that element. The dark power was super powerful for him, and so because he was attacking twice, I knew there were certain things, because you can block and you can retaliate some, but if you don't have enough things to buy those cards, and you're kind of in trouble, and you're like, okay, I hope I can move, and you roll the dice, you're like, I failed my move, and so I'm gonna be stuck here, and so that's ultimately what killed me. He had a double attack, and I could block one of them, and then the second one just went through and killed me. But there's another cool thing. So your health, the last token for actually both the killer and for the final girl, is a special token that you don't know what's on the backside of it. And so when you flip it over, it could have it could be blank and then you're just dead, or it could have a 1 or 2, maybe even up to 3 hearts on the back, and so you get like a second wind kind of thing. Or like it's that trope in the horror movie where you think the killer's dead and you're like, yes, everything's back to normal, and boom, he pops out of the closet.
Careful. This is the moment when the supposedly dead killer comes back to life for one last scare.
Alive! And same with the final girl, like, oh, is she dead? Like, no, she's got some extra health. One thing I did miss, and I didn't realize this until later, and I don't know if this would have affected if I won or not, but if you have only 1 health left, you actually get to roll an extra dice, and that would be super helpful if I remembered that in the Poltergeist game. Because, so here's one of my negative things in the game. So because there's so much randomness to the scenarios and all that stuff, which is great because the replayability is off the charts, as I said, but because my scenario with the Poltergeist, the very first like event card basically killed 2 people, which raised her horror level 2 spots, and because it did that, then she got her dark power right away off the beginning, and so she was moving a ton, and so I was basically not gonna win that scenario. Like I almost knew from the beginning, I'm like, okay, I'll try, but I was already like, she had her dark power before the game even started, and so it was rough. That game I lost very quickly, and so I wanted to play again. I haven't had a chance yet, but I'm hoping that other scenarios will be a bit different, that people won't die right off the bat, and so I'm already at a disadvantage before the game even starts, because again, you're kind of at a disadvantage the whole game, because it's like you're not a very strong person trying to defeat Ghost or defeat Hans the Butcher and make it out alive. So the replayability I like a whole lot, because I know like, hey, each scenario, even though I've played this scenario once, it's going to be different the next time. The cards are going to be different. The way it plays out is going to be different. Even the items, like the items are random at each spot, and so like maybe there's going to be different items next time. And so I did find a nice machete right at the beginning, so I was going after Hans pretty good. But what was cool about the first game, it came down to either I was going to roll and kill him, or and if I didn't, then I knew that he was going to attack and kill me. And so it was like, okay, this is the final battle. Like I'm rolling, and I didn't roll well, and then he killed me. And I was like, oh, it was so close. And so I felt like I could have won, but I didn't. And so with the Poltergeist, though, I was like, you got to go find this person, and so you have to search all these locations, and I just did not make it out in time. The Poltergeist one, but I liked the idea of like, I'm not going after the Poltergeist to kill it. I'm trying to find somebody and get out. So it kind of gave a different scenario, which changed up the gameplay. So I haven't played any of the other VHS tapes yet, but I think that each one kind of adds a different flavor and different thing to it. And I think that this is all season 1 stuff. Season 3 has just been kickstarted. I think it just finished its kickstarting thing and all that stuff. So if you like one-player games, if you like single-player games, or even if you don't, if you're like, should I get into single-player games? This one's great, because a lot of single-player games are like, oh, you're playing 2 characters, and you're doing like all the stuff that basically, like if you're playing with 2 people, the other person will be doing that stuff. This one is not like that. You're controlling your final girl, and then you've got the killer phase that like the killer's doing his thing, but it's kind of like it's based on cards and what his actions are. And so it didn't feel like, oh, this could be a 2 or 3 player game. Like it felt like this is designed for 1 player. If you like horror games, if you like stuff that has to do with horror, slasher films, things like that, I didn't watch a lot of slasher films. I haven't, but I still enjoyed these games. Like it's not the gore that comes with those games. You know how you can make it as gory as you want by making up stories and things like that. One of the things I do wish it did, and it actually, I looked it up and it does do this, but I wanted more background, especially for Hans the Butcher. I'm like, okay, what's this guy's story? Like, what are his motivations for just murdering this whole camp of people? But they have like lore books that you can purchase beyond the stuff that has like the background of his story and why he is the way that he is. And like they had a sample of it, and I read it, I was like, oh, this guy is crazy. Like it was really cool. Like his background story of like this weird thing they put on his head. The pig mask his like parents made him wear when he was a kid because he ate all the time, and they would just hear like munching behind the mask, and you're like, okay, this guy's a weird dude. And so then his parents like started not showing up, and he was always there, and so it was good. Like I liked that they added some of that, but I wish it would have been part of the game and not like something else that you had to buy beyond already buying VHS tapes and the core set and all that stuff. And so, and there's lots of add-ons, like you can buy neoprene mats and different things to help your game setup and all that. But just the core stuff that I played with, it was great, and it's very well designed because the boxes, I'll show you this, they're magnetic, and so you open it up, and there's the house on the magnet side. So you pull that off, and then that's your play mat for this game. And then on the other side is the poltergeist. Yeah, so then you have like the poltergeist right there. So yeah, so the way it's like set up is really cool, of how it's just magnetic boxes that stick together. So design's great. The components are really good. Some of the like little yellow victims are very tiny. So I was afraid I was going to lose some of it, but I didn't. Overall, great game. I recommend this highly. Van Ryder Games, great job with Final Girl. I said it right. Yeah, so check it out. Purchase it. And leave us a note in the comments if you've played this, or which ones are your favorite scenarios and things like that. Thanks for watching. Farewell, Fellowship. Is that okay? Was that too boring?
No, I think it's good.
Okay.
I think it's going to look really good too.
When the bloodlust hits a certain level, then you have this thing called, I forgot what it's called. Let's see. Oh yeah, wait, killer phase. Sorry, we'll redo. What is that called? And so yeah, so the design of this game is really cool. The way they designed that. Oh, I opened it upside down. That's what you get. So, are you been recording this whole time?